it's finally time. The Nintendo Switch 2 has gotten officially revealed, and it was in one of the most interesting ways I think I've ever seen a new console get revealed. Not only did they show off a lot of new features, but they also teased some crazy new features, posted renders to their website that show off additional shots of the console, showed off Mario Kart 9. Yeah, this looks insane. There's a ton to talk about here. And obviously we have so much content lined up, so hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, but let's not waste our time any longer. We've waited long enough for this thing. This is everything you might have missed from the initial Nintendo Switch 2 reveal trailer. Starting off with, oh yeah, that's just the Switch. This animation right here though, kind of shows the Switch like shedding its skin and becoming the Switch 2. I actually do think this has meaning though. I think the Switch 2 will be metal, or at least not the plastic that the main Switch console's made out of. Why do I think this? Well, through many shots throughout the trailer, you can see the Switch 2 console itself, and it has this kind of like speckled reflective look to it. And also, what else would this shot be if not it's like shedding its plastic and turning into metal? It being metal would also make a lot more sense as to why they have a lot more rounded and beveled edges, because if it's metal, obviously a sharp edge could potentially maybe hurt someone, and Nintendo's not looking to have any lawsuits. The next thing we get a look at is where the Joy-Con attach. However, we get a way better look later in the trailer. The volume buttons look to be pretty much unchanged. However, the power button is a little recessed now and just seems to be a little bit bigger. It's not just a straight circle, it's a bit of an oval, so a nice quality of life change there. Next, perhaps the biggest change on the actual console body of the Switch itself, this brand new USB-C port at the top. This had been leaked before, but it's great to actually see it. We don't see any super crazy use cases for it in this trailer, but don't worry, we'll have a ton of videos coming soon about whether this could be a second screen attachment, a camera attachment, or if it's just a charging port for when you're using the Switch in tabletop mode. Or I guess using the Switch 2 in tabletop mode. Dang, I gotta get used to saying that now. Next, we have a headphone jack. Nothing big here, although thank goodness we're still including one because I feel like headphone jacks are kind of a dying art form. Then we see the kickstand, and this is what I wanted to point out. So the kickstand is now a U. It still has the wide adjustable angle like the Switch OLED has, but it doesn't take up the entire back of the screen. It's just this little U section. More importantly though, the Switch console itself has these little rubber stoppers here that should help the console when the kickstand's out be a lot more sturdy and stable and not slide around as much on any surface or table that you're playing with. This shot right here shows the kickstand actually out, and if you zoom in here, it has these extra little supports. So theoretically, this kickstand should be pretty sturdy because it's got two angles instead of just the one on the base Switch, and each of those angles has a little support. This is a great upgrade because the base Switch, I mean, my kickstand just falls off all the time. It's also nice because here you can actually see the USB-C port on the top of the Switch. It actually juts out a little bit. That's likely just because the top of the Switch is curved and you don't really want to put a port on like a curved surface, but it's just good to see. All right, next up, we see the original Switch Joy-Con and they spin and rotate into the new Switch Joy-Con. First thing we can notice is just how much bigger the R button or bumper is. Not only does it look like it sticks out from the Joy-Con more, but it wraps around way further. And this screenshot is actually taken when the Switch 2 Joy-Con is the same size as the Switch 1 Joy-Con, and boom. Yeah, this is the best size comparison we will get for the Switch 2's controllers. I mean, this is just straight from Nintendo. Like, look, it's significantly bigger. Obviously, for the Switch, bigger controller means bigger screen. The analog stick looks to have bigger ridges on the outside of it as well, which should hopefully make it more comfortable. There's a lot more to talk about in the controllers, and I will get to that later on in the video, but right now I want to move on because this next part is super interesting. So we can see incoming color accents on both behind the analog stick and the Joy-Con railing, which now obviously juts out due to the new attachment mechanism with the magnets and all that we'll talk about soon enough. The color accents are actually very interesting here, as I genuinely think that these color accents will be present on every Switch 2 Joy-Con, not just like this black, blue, red color variants they have going on right now. I'll talk about why that is soon enough, but the one thing I want to talk about now is, man, that looks like an optical sensor, and we can see one on both the red and blue Joy-Con. Not only does it look like an optical sensor that would be used in a mouse, but, well, we see just that coming up, because after getting a close-up of the Switch 2's controllers doing a little bit of wiggle action, they end up joining onto the Joy-Con railing. Now, if you go frame by frame here, you can see the railing was already on the ground, so we don't actually get a look at what is under the railing right here. However, we don't get a look at it, but we get to hear it. I'm gonna play this clip for you, and you guys let me know what you think. So yeah, as the Joy-Con get added into the Joy-Con wrist strap, which also seems to have a button up here, probably for releasing the magnets and actually getting the wrist strap off. However, that might actually not be the case, because this render from the website actually shows this button on the back being the one that disengages the magnets, at least for when you're trying to remove it from the console itself. I would assume it's probably the same sort of thing for the Joy-Con railings, but I don't know, maybe it's different. Just wanted to let you guys know. But when they're moving along this table, it sounds like there's either a pad or some sort of ball bearing in the bottom of the Joy-Con wrist straps so you can use them as a mouse. It seems like these wrist straps will help your Joy-Con glide around whatever surface you use. There's this new optical sensor that they're showing off for the first time, and then immediately the Joy-Cons start moving around on a table like this. Yeah, there seemingly has to be some sort of mouse functionality within these Joy-Con, and what gets me so excited is not just that there is mouse functionality, but that the Joy-Con wrist strap are actually going to be used to enhance that, making it easier to use. That is a great use case of these little random wrist strap accessories that just make your controller a bit bigger and beefier to hold. Now that the Switch 2 Joy-Con themselves are bigger, I was kind of like, okay, what's the point of the wrist strap other than just, you know, the wrist strap itself so you don't chuck your controller at the TV? Well, now it seems like we know. It seems like the wrist strap will be used in conjunction with the optical sensor to give the best feeling mouse input you can get. Whether that's with some sort of padding or what I'm hoping for, some sort of like ball bearing, as if you use a mouse too much, the padding under the mouse will get worn out. But some sort of ball bearing that allows you to quickly move it around, reducing the amount of friction that you would get using a Joy-Con as a mouse on like a table or something, that could be really, really big and make this an actually legitimate control input and not just like an IR camera type thing that we got on the first Switch's Joy-Con. However, interestingly enough, as the Joy-Con leave the wrist straps keep on moving, which is why I think there's some sort of ball bearing or something that drastically reduces the friction, allowing the Joy-Con with these wrist straps to kind of slide around effortlessly, which again, perfect for a mouse. I feel like I'm dreaming. I still can't believe we're actually looking at the Nintendo Switch 2. If you guys are enjoying this video, hit the like button and subscribe if you're new, because obviously we got so many videos coming out. But also comment down below what you're most excited about. What did you like most about this trailer? All right, I want to pause right here for a second and just talk a bit more about these controllers. I am going to get into the coloring that each controller has because I do genuinely believe there's a legitimate theory there. But first thing I want to talk about is this button right here. Yes, the mythical C button. Supposedly this button has a C on it, according to a bunch of leaks or whatever, but here it's got nothing. I think that is likely intentional. Nintendo did not show off a ton within this trailer. And even stuff they did show off, like the mouse functionality, they didn't outright announce it. It was more of a tease than anything. Because of that, I think there is still a decent possibility that there is either a C or some sort of icon on this button. I doubt it's just a button with no icon, but we don't know exactly what it is yet. I'm still hoping for some sort of social button, and if any other news on that point gets announced, you already know we'll let you know. All right, now let's talk about the color. Not only are the Joy-Con themselves accented with this red and blue, as you can see from either under the analog stick or now on the Joy-Con railing, although I guess it's not actually a railing because now it sticks out from the controller itself and you can actually see the player icon, these specific 4 LEDs that tell you if you're player 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the side of the Joy-Con and not on the railing itself. I think that's a great quality of life change, and we can also see the SLSR buttons seem to be way bigger and way easier to use, which paired with the fact that the console and controllers itself are just bigger should mean that single Joy-Con play is at least a little viable, definitely a lot more viable than the base Switch. Obviously, you'd probably rather have a Pro Controller or a Joy-Con grip, as we're going to talk about in a sec, but yeah, I do like that single Joy-Con play is a bit better. Alright, but the colors aren't just on the controllers themselves, they're actually on the console. You can see where the blue Joy-Con connects. Obviously, you have the little connector thing that sticks out. Hopefully that is sturdy, because I can see that sort of thing breaking if kids go too crazy on it. But the inside section where it connects is also blue. The same thing over on the red side as well. And this is where my color theory comes into effect. Obviously, they will eventually release multiple colors or Joy-Con variants for the Switch 2. We won't just be rocking with this like black or dark gray style forever. But what I do think will probably be consistent now are the red and blue accents on each controller. I think they'll be consistent with those colors because, well, if they're baked into the console itself, this is a really ingenious way of making sure people know, yep, red connects to red, blue connects to blue. Obviously, they can add in different patterns or designs or even straight up colors to the base Joy-Con themselves. Maybe a white Joy-Con, that could still work with the red and blue accents. Maybe different patterns or whatever, but I think that the red and blue accents might actually stick throughout every official Joy-Con we see for the Switch 2's lifespan, because it just makes sense. If you're going to add this sort of color into the console itself, why would you then sell controllers that don't link up with that color color. I feel like that just doesn't make any sense. On top of that, having this consistent accent color theming for not only the Joy-Con rail, but also under the analog stick makes it so that even just from a glance, from a picture, when you can't even see the scale of this thing, you will know it's not the base Switch. The normal Switch controller does not really look like this. There's no accent colors, it's just kind of your straight up red or blue. I think keeping in these accent colors will be a marketing through line for Nintendo throughout this next generation, and in my opinion, the fact that they're putting the colors on the inside of the console itself kind of confirms that. Alright, next up we can see both Joy-Con detached from the console and then reattached with a 2 coming up. Nothing too crazy to see there, but it's nice to know, yep, that's how they attach, that's how they detach. Next, obviously, we get the logo, and then some awesome shots of different renders of the Switch 2 itself. You can see the Switch 2 logo on the back of the console, and boom! Let's go, baby! A brand new Mario Kart game. Now, I know, they didn't show off much, but this is insane. I have not gotten to look at a new Mario Kart game since like 2014. We are going to be making a massive video analyzing every single pixel of this new footage shown off. Not doing it in this video though, because it would go on for too long, but hit the subscribe button because trust me, there is so much here to talk about. Anyway, let's unfortunately move on from Mario Kart 9. Oh, I want to talk about this so bad though. But next we get a look at the dock, and the main thing I want to talk about here is, well, the fact that nothing seems to have changed. See, the corners of the dock are now obviously rounded, but besides the big Switch 2 logo right here, there's not really that much to look at. There are some little feet coming out of the dock, which I guess looks nice. We still have that same green LED indicator on the front right, just to let you know when your TV's getting a signal. But what surprises me the most here is that they're not showing off anything up here. Yeah, that's right. There is a lot of screen real estate peeking out of the dock. And I've always thought that if they're going to do this and be able to let you kind of see your Switch screen while it's docked, why not actually show something there? I mean, the base Switch will at least put like a battery icon up there when you put it into the dock for the first time. Here, there's nothing, but obviously that's probably just because of the trailer. I mean, there's nothing on this button. There's no way a button is just going to have nothing. So I think whatever is being shown on the screen real estate up here is being cut out for the trailer, but I do genuinely think something will be shown off here. It'll probably just be like time of day, your battery life, and then maybe like any notifications if there is a full party chat system. But I'm just saying, the fact that there is so much screen real estate up here, to me, makes me think that something's gotta be shown here. I mean, nothing is shown here at all. Even on the normal Switch, when you plug your Switch into the dock, there's like a battery icon that pops up. So I just don't think they rendered it for these trailer animations, but something will be shown here. There's also only one cord coming out from the dock, and it looks so thin that it's probably just the USB-C power cord. This is a little odd though, because it actually connects to the TV, so is that the USB cord or the HDMI? I don't know. I would assume that the dock is going to need 2 cords, one to power the dock, and then one to actually give the signal to the TV. It's probably just for the animation, but it's a little odd that they only have 1 cord coming out of the dock. Although they did the same for the original Switch trailer, so it's probably not worth reading into too much. Next, we have the Joy-Con grip, and look, it also has the colors on the side. This just leans more into my color theory that every version of Joy-Con that get released will have this kind of blue or red accent, because if they eventually started selling Joy-Con with different colored accents, would that not just be a little weird to get those Joy-Con that are maybe green and yellow instead of blue and red, and then the colors don't match up with not only your controller, aka the Joy-Con grip, but the Switch itself? I don't know, that would just be odd. But anyway, the grip has a giant Switch 2 logo in the middle, making sure people know, yep, this is the second one, but also it has been redesigned. Obviously, the Joy-Con don't come in from the top anymore, they attach from the side magnetically. So the Joy-Con grip has actually been flattened a decent bit to allow the Joy-Con to come in from the sides. Will this be a good or bad thing ergonomically? I mean, time will only tell. However, just given the bigger nature of the Joy-Con and therefore the Joy-Con grip in general, I bet it will feel fine, but it is interesting to note that you'll kind of have to be holding this thing from like the back, because if you try and hold it from the sides, well, there's not really much to hold there because they had to remove it because that's where the Joy-Con slide in from. You can see it in this shot here. This part that's kind of glossy and is catching the reflection of the light, yeah, that's completely flat. That's where the Joy-Con just kind of slide in from. We see the Joy-Con briefly pop out, and boom, 2025. Thank goodness this thing is actually releasing this year. However, more importantly than 2025, we get more info on the Switch 2 being backwards compatible. We already knew that it was going to be backwards compatible, but now we get to know for sure that both digital and physical games will be supported. And from where this Super Mario Bros. Wonder cartridge is being placed, they will be using the same cartridge slot. So kind of like the DS and 3DS. Maybe the Switch 2 cartridges will be a little bit bigger or a different color to differentiate themselves, but they will be able to be used in the same cartridge slot. Again, like the 3DS and DS. Not only that, but here we can see a bigger size comparison. And if I drag this over and make it opaque, man, yeah, this thing is a decent amount bigger. Not only is the console itself bigger, but the bezels are also smaller. Huge shout out for Nintendo, because as a guy with bigger hands, this is just going to make me want to play the Switch in handheld a lot more. We learned that certain Nintendo Switch games may not be fully supported or fully compatible with Switch 2, and details will be shared at a later date. that's fine by me. I feel like most games will be supported, and maybe just certain ones like, I don't know, Joy-Con specific games may not be supported, although we obviously still have Joy-Con on Switch 2, so I actually probably think games like Super Mario Party or Nintendo Switch Sports that use the Joy-Con only will probably be supported, and the stuff that won't be supported is more along the lines of like Nintendo Labo or maybe Ring Fit Adventure that use like the IR camera and the Ring Fit. Anything that had like a peripheral that will not fit these new size Joy-Con, it might be a little sketchy. However, next up, this is the coolest thing. Boom, baby, we're getting a Nintendo Direct for the Nintendo Switch 2 on April 2nd. Oh, great, right during my finals. No, I kid. Obviously, I'm super excited for this, and this is where we kind of stray away from the trailer and head over to Twitter a little bit to take a bit of a gander at Nintendo and what they've been tweeting out. They've said, stay tuned for a closer look at hashtag Nintendo Switch 2 in the Nintendo Direct Nintendo Switch 2 April 2nd, 2025, airing on April 2nd. Yeah, okay, we get it. The broadcast time will be shared at a later date. That makes complete sense. They've also announced Nintendo Switch 2 Experience, though, which is basically just going to be hands-on. It's like a raffle system. Whoever gets to do it, we're going to try and get one, but I mean, who knows? But these also all start on the 2nd as well, so it's looking like we're not really going to get any information until the 2nd of April, and that's when they're going to be inviting a bunch of people in to try it, unless they give it out to like certain special press beforehand, but I doubt they do that. Anyway, the registration for the Switch 2 Experience starts on the 17th if you are interested, but yeah, that's almost everything you might have missed in the initial Switch 2 reveal trailer, but trust me, we have so much more content coming soon. Not only are we doing a full frame-by-frame, pixel-by-pixel analysis of Mario Kart 9, but just so many more videos, man. We've been waiting for this so long, so I got two things to say. One, if you're excited for that content, hit the subscribe button to make sure you get to see it, and two, thank you guys. Seriously.